So let's start 30 years ago.
Okay.
You graduated.
Yeah.
You went to Nestle as your first job.
Yeah.
And you spent 13 years there. At the time when you were choosing your first job, how did you choose Nestle as the first place you wanted to work?
Yeah, so my wife and I were classmates in business school. She's sitting right there. We were both, when we were in business school, this is a long time ago, 1979 to 81, in India had just begun to open up to the advent of multinationals coming in to build a lot of businesses there. Some had stayed on over the years and had changed their ownership model. Nestle was one of those. Unilever was another one. Others had left when the Indian government wasn't as conducive to foreign investment as it is in the period in between. And so when we were graduating, multinational corporations like Nestle, like Unilever, were places to work in of great attraction. They were terrific for learning the business. They were great for understanding the culture of a company that operated across the world. They were great for comprehending the concept of high-quality products, of high ethics and how you worked. And all of us looked up to those companies as where you wanted to be because you would learn the things that you needed to learn in your early years of working life. And we guys, unlike you all who work and then come to business school, we didn't. We used to go those days straight from undergrad to business school. We were very young. I was 21 years old when I finished my business school career. And so when you think about that, you think about the people in that frame of mind. Nestle was a very attractive learning place with lots of strengths and attributes that I still think the company has. That's how I ended up there. Getting in was not easy because everybody in the class would apply for these few jobs that were available, and they were very competitive.
And then you chose to spend 13 years there.
Yeah. So clearly it takes me a long time to learn it. But the really attractive part about Nestle was that you were able to move in different parts of the company very quickly. It was part of why I went there. It's part of what I've tried to build with all the recruitment programs we run here as well as in Citigroup, where I had a chance to influence the kind of program, is I try and build the chance for people to go across the company in different places, geographically, functionally, opportunity-wise, so that they don't get stuck on where they joined is where they're going to be. And I think that's a big part of what Nestle did for me. It took me into sales, it took me into marketing, it took me into factories, it took me into product management, took me into running a region, and gave me the chance to work on changing the entire inventory system of the Indian company and to manage inventory and working capital better. Things that I don't know that a lot of our companies would have given me that breadth and depth of knowledge. And I lived in all parts of India. As I said, it is the one time you got paid to travel. Not the most attractive places, but you got paid to travel.
Sure. And so now, 30 years later, when you reflect back on that time at Nestle, what are one or two things that you really learned over the course of those 13 years that set you up for so much success later on in your career?
I'd say that Nestle taught me a lot of things. The guy, I still say that the guy who was the managing director of Nestle when I joined, many levels above me, a guy called Barry Ryan, is still one of the people I've learned the most from. And I think people make the difference, not just companies. And you'll see that'll keep coming up in a conversation with me, that one individual can make a difference. And Barry Ryan made a difference to the Nestle that was there when I joined. And his view, aside from the company's commitment to quality and ethics and standards, his view was never take no for an answer. There is always a way to get to the right solution. If you apply your mind, don't take the hurdles that come in your way as the reason why you would move around them or give up. Or as in India, they say jugaad. Jugaad means you adjust for everything. He said, don't do that. That's the wrong way to do business. Go for it. Never take no for an answer. And the second thing that he taught me, which I think was tremendous, was that you're one person, but you're one person, you can make the difference. If you have the energy and the passion to drive in a direction, and if you know how to communicate well, which, by the way, is the most underrated attribute when you're young, but the most important attribute as you grow is your communication. And if you can do those two things well, then there's a whole new world out there. And I think Nestle taught me that really, really well, thanks to him. And the last thing I think I picked up was that I was a young MBA entering a company which traditionally had been run by people who had grown up there from being a sales rep all the way to being the boss. And I was among the first few groups of young MBAs to come in. And therefore, there was always the resentment about this young kid who would learn from me and then come back in 6 months' time, green behind the ears, if you could find my ears. And then you would sort of, have to be listening to this kid tell me how to do my business. And I learned that that's the worst way to start your relationship with this company. And instead, if you take the approach that you can learn from everybody, because they've all got something to teach you, and then you can bring the value you bring. But you got to learn from everybody. It changes everything. And so I guess that's the 2 or 3 things in Nestle.